All right, party people in the place to be, vandals, and all you harpies out there in the clock tower. This is a brand new episode of How'd We Get Here? And we are talking with up and coming cartoonists that I found on Kickstarter, and I just kind of fell in love with their work. I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves. Go ahead. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for that great introduction. I noticed that you guys do personalized stuff, but I wasn't expecting that. My name is Audrey. I have the privilege to live, learn, and play on the unceded territories of the Esquimalt Lekwungen peoples up on Vancouver Island in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here. This is my first actual interview about comics and about my comics.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And you have quite a little body of work already to your name that people can check out on your website. I have the link in the chat and in the description down below. So please check it out. Like the AG's work is so good. Like I really enjoy it. And their art, it's got that Quandary Press type feel to it. I was telling Joe, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. I think they're based out of Scotland, but that's kind of what caught my eye. Is like your book kind of reminded me of a book I really like called The Woven Daughter. And then after reading Fair Crow, your first kind of completed graphic novel, I'd say it's over 100 pages long. So yeah, it kind of also has the same sort of narrative about how easy it is to be extreme. Be turned into an extremist basically on either side, and just kind of how sad it is, you know what I mean, that just simple people that kind of just wanted to be left alone can be, just drawn to being an extremist, and it's very easy to happen. And I love that your book kind of shows that even simple you know well-meaning loving characters can
fall into cycles of violence too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great book. I highly recommend everybody check it out. You're gonna have prints, physical copies available for sale at some point, right? You said?
Yeah, so I have a limited stock of Fair Crow already. I think I have like 10 copies left, and it just hasn't gone to a second print yet. I'm open to a second print. I'm still like, my audience is microscopic, so I just print enough to keep me going until I have stock for events and stuff, and then everything else is online for free. But yeah, thank you for those lovely compliments.
So your pitch for Fair Crow, kind of how would you kind of introduce people to it?
So Fair Crow is an apocalyptic story about a harpy boy that is just trying to survive. And it took me a little while to figure out that pitch, but I'm very happy with it.
It's definitely, like Johnny said, it's a very touching story, conflicting story, right? From both narratives, because you have the humans and you have the harpies, right? Mm-hmm. And you have the two characters that connect, and that's where the doubt, the questions of how they were brought up, comes into question.
Yeah,
and you're not sure if they're going to come to an amicable solution or not. And well, as you read, you see what the final resolution is, but I don't want to give it away in case people read it. But it's definitely an interesting story that kind of touching, sad, heartbreaking at times as well. I mean, you kind of give us a little bit of everything with it,
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was like, it still feels like a fever dream, because I first, like, I wrote the script for it in, I think it was 2015, as a NaNoWriMo project. And I was just doing a bunch of short stories, and I think I was low on sleep, and like, I have a fear of birds, so I was just sort of channeling that, and powdered out 6,000-ish words, and then just put it aside, and I didn't come back to it until like after I actually got into cartooning. So Like I wrote that story before I was a comic artist. And then came back to it as like my first long project, just to see if I could do a long project.
The second meeting that they have on the road, you kind of see that she's got the matches in her pocket. Like, was she actually going to town to like kind of do her brother's job to kind of make her family proud of her? Was that kind of like, you never really say it, but I kind of got that feeling from that particular
Yeah.
panel. So
That was my
what's going on?
intention, yeah. That she was
Okay.
there to light everything on fire. But
And him actually showing up kind of
Well,
saved it off for the final conflict, kind of. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I felt like, for me, when I was reading it, I felt like she was going with nothing but good intentions, like to try to resolve this, and that like burning it all down was like an absolute last resort. That's what I got when I was reading it. Yeah,
That's nice. I like that.
Well, I'm a bit of an optimist, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the way I viewed it.
Yeah, no, I like that too. And like, my intentions as an author don't really matter. So like, I bring whatever to the table. Any author brings whatever to the table, but it's what the audience sees that brings meaning to the work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I think a good storyteller allows that.
Yeah.
For the reader to at least have a bit of an interpretation of their work to a certain degree.
Well, you have to. Like, the authors who try to hold too tightly to their own work, like, they're not doing themselves any favors. Because one day they're just going to be dead and they won't be able to put their opinions out there anyways, and everyone's going to still be interpreting their works the way that they want. I come from a very literary background.
Yeah, this one, Faircrow, like, it really resounded with me. Like, if we do another version of Comics That Made Us Cry, this might actually make my picks, man.
Aww.
Yeah, no, like the stuff with him learning to fly with his mom and stuff. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hit where it was supposed to.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. It's technically got a sequel just rattling in my brain that should be a happier ending, but I don't know if I'll ever get around to writing it.
Oh, he actually shows up in Blink, right?
I did, like, that is an homage to Faircrow for sure. I think if anything it would be Hagar. But like, I couldn't tell you if it was specifically any of those characters, but I did.
But it was definitely an Easter egg, a wink to your other book.
Yeah.
That's what me too. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that must be kind of, it's all a big shared universe, right? Like
maybe.
Yeah. Hey, Cookie. Hey, Al. Cookie are in the chats. Yeah. I want to go back to you saying you're afraid of birds, and you wrote this book, Fear Crow, and I find the way you draw the birds. Is there a specific type of bird you're afraid of? Would it be a sparrow?
I mean, it's kind of all birds.
They dive down at you and stuff. Yeah. So I can see how people find them, because they can be aggressive if you get too close to the nest,
Yeah, no, it's kind of all birds. I've had a lot of bird interactions in my childhood where I was probably clearly in the wrong, just like me and my brothers horsing around and not being respectful to wildlife, that like I've had my hair pulled by a peacock. I've had geese and duck like nip at my feet.
You had a peacock pull your hair?
Yeah.
Was this at like a kind of a petting zoo, or did you like run into a peacock out in the wild?
I mean, it was a wild peacock. Just at Royal Roads University. My mom used to work there, but like that was me and my brother being disrespectful. So like I can't blame the animals, but they are terrifying. Like, they are capable of causing you serious harm, and you should respect that. And like even small birds, like I'm getting better about it, especially as I'm like realizing as long as I behave in a way that they don't feel threatened, so it shouldn't be a problem. And I try to make friends with crows because crows are smart and like they'll remember your face.
Yeah.
So I try to feed them and talk to them. even though
'Cause-
I'm scared because
And if you're mean to them, they'll remember you and they'll attack you.
yeah.
Yes. I have a story. I don't know if you want to hear it. I said it on a previous episode. I don't like repeating myself, but I can tell you, it's my mom lives in Prince Edward Island,
Yeah.
and there was this one of our neighbors walks the same. She takes a walk at the same time every day, and there was a crow that died, and a bunch of crows. I guess
Aw.
crows, they have funerals for when they
Yep.
die, and we're all
Yep.
there. And she was
It's a
walking
murder
by.
investigation.
Yeah, and she disturbed them when she walked by, and ever since then, they all attack her when she comes by that spot. They start
Oh,
attacking her when she goes for her walks. So she had to change her walk, like her route that she takes her walks on, because the crows would attack her. And she was like, "What the hell's going on?" And then
Yeah.
she went to a vet, and the vet explained it to her. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you disturbed their kind of
yeah. Maybe
their
she'll be able to
funeral or-
win them over with treats, but
maybe,
that'll
maybe.
take time and effort.
So you probably don't enjoy like viral videos like that little kid on the scooter with the bird
mean,
chasing him.
Birds are really like cute and majestic, and
Yeah.
I'm fine with them as long as they're not like in a room with me, like face to face. If there's the distance of a computer screen is great.
Yeah. Well, you got to be careful, like parrots and stuff. They're known for biting, so
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, geese, I don't mess with them
Oh.
either because I got attacked by one when I was a kid. It bit the hell out of my. I thought it like literally bit my finger off. It hurt so bad. I was like sitting there screaming, "It bit my finger off!" I was like 5 years old. Like it was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get mean. My grandmother, at the farm, they had a goose, and
Yeah.
I used to get into scraps with it.
The cobra chickens.
Yeah, it was a mean little bugger, that one.
Yeah. But even then, like as long as you give them space, it's usually fine.
Yeah.
So this maybe sequel of Faircrow you got planned, is it going to continue with his story, or is it just going to be about this world? Because you kind of introduced that they're like pretty much all like at least Greek mythological creatures are running around the post-apocalyptic world, because there's centaurs and a minotaur that actually has
in
a
the
maze.
maze.
Right?
Yeah. And like those are just supposed to be like little one-offs. No, in my head it's several years later. I think it might be who has a name, but like they don't necessarily know they're related because Faircrow's sisters left however long ago. And like it would open with like a younger centaur pulling a cart back home to whatever barn beginning, but like at the end of the first chapter you'd find out that's where now Faircrow lives, in the rafters of this barn above the centaur family, and this young centaur brings in this younger harpy who now like has an injury and is passed out to begin with, but like wakes up in a panic because they need to get back home because they like eventually in a I don't know how many chapters in, you find out that like this other harpy has been raising a human child, and it's supposed to be like, I'm hoping in my head it's supposed to sort of come together as like a found family situation. But I don't know. I tend to write really sad stories by accident.
Well, I mean, this one, like, it ends up being, but it's because it's touching. It's sad in like the classic, actually back when Disney made good movies style of like being kind of touching and to the point where it's a little sad. You know what I mean? Like, Fox and the Hound or one of those. You know,
sadness is a part of life. We need sad stories as well as nice, happy stories.
Yeah, it just makes you appreciate the good times more.
Yeah, that's the hope.
That's Don't dwell on the bad stuff, and really celebrate the good times. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a little bummed out that the church isn't going to be in there, because like, oh man, I love all the really cool panels you do with the church clock tower. Like
when
nice.
So like when I first drew Faircrow, I drew it for Webtoon. And then like later I remastered it for print. But I didn't realize the entire thing was done. I've come back to it like a year and a half, 2 years later to do a couple of like pages to connect the chapters in between for print. I never drew the church the same way twice. Every single time it looks different.
Well, it's from different angles, so it kind of all works out. I guess here, like you do have a pointed roof there. I think that's
Yeah, but like the doors are a little bit different each time. The windows are a little different each time.
You know what you can do? You can make little short stories that explain why there's no more picketed roof, or exactly.
Yeah. It's not
like
important.
There could be little conflicts that the Harpies had with people attacking the church, and so then they had to like fix it up as best they could, or
yeah. That makes sense. But like things like that, it doesn't even really matter. Like it's done. Move on.
I didn't even notice until you pointed it out, and I was looking. I'm like, okay,
those are kind of the fun that maybe you didn't notice. But if you're combing through it, like how often a hand actually looks truly terrible, because there's my mentors used to say that there's two types of artists who can draw hands and artists who can draw feet. And so you can usually tell.
Oh, so I guess Rob definitely fits that category then.
I think that's kind of the fun thing about being a cartoonist, especially in this like day and age, this post Jeff Lemire becoming a big deal day and age, where like people have grown to like, more abstract looking cartoonist art. It's kind of become more acceptable, whereas like not just people like me and Joe like it, like normies like it too. So I think that it makes room for, like, and then you got Matt Kent, who's even wilder and looser than him. That's also popular now. So, you got, I think that they kind of really are going to help, break that wall down where you don't have to draw like a,
photorealist or
photorealistic Baroque painting style perfect hand. You know what I mean? Like it's not needed anymore.
That's one of the nice things about comic. Like, not everybody thinks about it, but you don't have to be a good artist to be a comic, to be a good comic artist. You just have to be a good storyteller. Like XKCD, literal stick figures, but people love that shit because the story, like, it's short and it's funny. It's not quite the same as a graphic novel, but it's still topical and makes people laugh, right?
Yeah, it's a form of storytelling, right? Being like sequential art. I mean, it's just like any genre. Like, there's different kinds of genres. There's different ways to tell a story. That like it could be silly, it could be serious, it depends what kind of story you're trying to tell, what kind of tone you're going for, and you can adapt your style or even the materials you use. And that's a perfect segue to me asking you about like your techniques. Obviously you use a lot of watercolor.
Yes, I'm assuming, that is my preferred medium.
Yeah, and I saw on your page you actually do some digital as well.
I do a little bit of digital. I'm not super confident at digital art. I've in the last couple of years reached a point where like I feel like I'm producing a quality of digital art, but
okay. So I know you're doing what is that month? The month of December. What was it called?
I'm calling it Digicember.
Digicember. And I think most of your pieces have been digital from that, right?
Exactly. That's the whole point. I'm just practicing my digital art for the month. I don't I think it's technically a real thing. People generally have been calling it Digital Art December, but I didn't like anybody else's prompts, so I just made my own prompt list.
Well, Digi December sounds pretty good. I mean, you have like Inktober, you have a bunch of different ones. Like Todd McFarlane tried to which month was he trying to steal?
I don't know.
January. So Sponuary, I think. I think January was He was
I've already
January. So
I haven't made my prompt list yet, but my partner has already demanded that I do mechs for January, so I'm doing Mechuary.
Cool.
But I haven't decided if I want to like have my prompts be different universes that have mechs, or if I want to be more abstract than that.
And do your own, or like maybe like, do you guys watch anime? Like maybe
Yeah, a decent amount.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, like, if you're planning on doing like, like Bottoms and Gundam and all that stuff,
Yeah,
or like
like
just do your own.
a Pat Labor day or something. Maybe. Again, I haven't decided yet. I have my next newsletter goes out in about a week, so I'll have to decide by then.
So where can people get your newsletter? Speaking of that,
Should be newsletter.unscrupulousartist.ca. It's not actually linked from my website yet because I need to transition my website, but it is on my link tree.
Okay, so if they go find you on socials, you're unscrupulous
artist.
On, I think that's what you use on all your social platforms.
Yeah. Except for Blue Sky.
Okay, and you can, I think you're under AD Greenlee.
AD Greenlees,
yeah. And you can find your link tree there, so people can find all your other socials, all your books, your links to your website and newsletter and everything. So
yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. So the book that I discovered you with, that you just did a Kickstarter on, that was very successful. Congratulations, by the way, is Blink. And oh man, I really, really sunk my teeth into this one because I love the idea of the narrative of the book just being like a guided tour around like the city. You know what I mean? With all these different kind of characters and just showing this almost day in the life of the city, while the I guess the watchtower is like kind of seeing everything that's going on, right? That's kind of
So one of my I did the thumbnails for Blink last November as sort of like a Zine-vember challenge. And before the month started, I wrote a list of all the things that I wanted to incorporate, because I don't tend to overplan either my stories are extremely planned or they're totally fly by my pants. This was a fly by my pants, but one of the things I wanted to channel was Virginia Woolf. And so her story, I don't know if you guys have read Mrs. Dalloway.
I'm familiar with it, but
that's okay. Again, literature background. But the thing Virginia Woolf is known for is a stream of consciousness writing style, where you're hopping between characters, sometimes for a whole scene, but sometimes like rapidly throughout the scene, which is harder to do in comics, I think. But what pulls all of the characters in Mrs. Dalloway together is that, like, either we're jumping between transitioning scenes because they hear Big Ben in London ring, and so everyone's sort of connected by Big Ben, and London itself becomes part of the character. And so that was part of my inspiration for the big tower. Blink was Sauron City, but I thought that was a little bit too on the nose. So eventually I changed that.
I mean, you got like some fantasy characters running around. You also got like angels and devils and stuff like that. It's a pretty diverse cast of characters, and I noticed that you kind of pushed yourself with your art. It's a little more ambitious this time around than some of your other stuff.
I definitely noticed myself that there was a few times where I stopped and I looked at my art and was like, wow, I'm making noticeable improvements with things. It was a bit out of body. But thank you for noticing.
As a person that draws myself, I know how hard it is to do skylines and structures and stuff like that. And your alleyways and like your depiction of the city, it looks great. You know what I mean? It's
thank you.
And the bricks are not easy to do. I know for a fact. So
oh yeah, every time I did bricks, Like I would start them and be like, why am I doing this the hard way? I should only do like 8 bricks ever. But then I started inking, and once you commit to a level of detail, then you have, right?
Well, it depends. Some people find it therapeutic. The little details.
Yeah.
You can just zone in. You get in, and and it's a way to escape. You're not thinking about. You're just, it's meticulous. It's repetitive. So it's a way to just clear your mind for that little while. So I know a lot of people that enjoy those little meticulous aspects of art.
I do really like perspective in general, and like for that similar sort of reason. You can just, there's rules, everything makes sense. Or I mean, should make sense. And if you just follow the steps and keep pulling back to the different perspective points, it should work out in the end, which is nice.
Like the picture I used to use a thumbnail, you're through the trees, a banner, like, oh, it's gorgeous, and like it's really well done. I really like that. Like looking down, it's great perspective. And then
I think that one, the Through the Trees one, like that's a really early work. It's earlier than Faircrow even, because that was when I was still in the comics and graphic novels course at Camosun.
So okay, so you kind of got into maybe doing comics a little later, or like, or was it something you were always interested in maybe pursuing?
I always liked art, and I always liked storytelling, and I wanted to be a writer for a long time, but I didn't have a lot of confidence with art. And so it wasn't until like I had exhausted and tried a bunch of other things that, you're supposed to do, that I found out that the comics program was at my college that I was already in, and I just hopped into it, and it kind of changed my life.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, the idea about art and like you have to do a certain thing and you have to obey certain rules and stuff, it kind of defeats the purpose of art, in my opinion. I guess I grew up as a punk, like I always just like have that mentality in everything that I kind of do. And so like when I would be in art class and they'd be telling me like, oh, you're doing that wrong, I'm like, no, I'm not, I'm doing it my way. Like, it's fucking art, you know what I mean?
Like to tell my students that the only wrong way to do art is to not do art.
Nice.
If you're doing you're doing it right.
That's good advice. I mean, if you get too bogged down by technique, you can lose the joy and love of it.
Yeah.
But I also respect and have, a love for the technical side as well. Because if you know how to do something properly, then, breaking the rules
is easier.
It's not easier, but
you understand them more. You know
more literal. When you break the rule, it's more literal. Like, I know I'm not supposed to be doing it, and I'm doing it for this specific reason.
Yeah, I get that.
To help explain something within the story, or
learn the rules so that you can break
them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, there's also like the other aspect that's just people that go in raw. And I love that too. Like, what was that book, Johnny, that we love? You just mentioned it the other day. Night of the Comet.
Oh yeah. What's his name? I forget the artist's name.
Attila.
Something. He's Greek or Roman, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And his art he does a lot of pen, multimedia, a lot of colored pencils, and he's got a wild style, and it's awesome. It's amazing. But he's technically sound too, because in that book he does like more dream flashback sequences, and they're beautifully rendered pencil drawings, colored pencil drawings. And then when it's the actual time, it's sketchy. It's like the energy. It's very kinetic. It's two like really different styles, but he takes two different mediums and styles to tell the story. It's great, and it's a perfect example of just playing around and having fun with the medium. Mhm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
Taking notes.
you got Blink. You got you're gonna be sending it to print in a bit, right?
Yes.
So
I was hoping to do it already, but there's a Canada Post strike right now, so I'm not really in a rush. It should be in print before the end of the month.
and are you gonna have extra copies maybe for sale for people? And if so,
Yes.
like, how could they get a hold of you to maybe get a copy of this?
Right now it would be very informal, so it would have to be like get into my inbox and
Yeah.
tell me that you want it, and we'll sort something out. I don't have a online store currently. I should get on that at some point.
I mean, I think if you set your Kickstarter up the right way, you could sell the extra copies through that, right? You could take late
Yeah.
pledges. I don't know if you had that enabled though.
I didn't have that enabled. I saw that it was an option, but again, microscopic audience right now, so
Mhm.
I just want to take my baby steps, and one day it'll grow. But
Yeah.
otherwise, like I always end up selling some comics at any convention I go to. I try to, like, that's what my stock is for, to keep my tables interesting.
And like what conventions do you usually head up out there in
I
the-
haven't gotten off the island very much because it's expensive, but my next convention is Island Fan Con, which is going to be their second year.
Okay.
So like everyone's pretty excited about it.
Cool.
And what kind of convention does that? What does it entitle? Like, obviously, you're going, so they have
Yeah.
comics or graphic novels. Is it like a
They're
mix?
they're aiming to be kind of like a Comic-Con convention.
Okay.
And like in some ways they are taking up that mantle. I don't like there's so many Comic-Cons, right? So
Mhm.
we had Capital City Comic-Con, but just like a week or two ago they announced that they're not coming back. So that's kind of the only place on the only big convention on the island is going to be Island Fan Con for the next
Okay.
little while.
Okay.
But they have some workshops. They had a bunch of cosplayers last year. A bunch of cool tables, local comics.
Mhm.
Um,
So it's very focused, comic oriented.
yeah, they had some comedy people. There was someone
Okay.
from Kids in the Hall was there.
Oh, really?
Some
Huh.
local comics, like
Cool.
local stand-up comics as well as
Mhm.
comic artists.
Yeah. Comics and comics.
Yeah.
They could do a convention, comics and comics convention.
CNC, yeah.
Yeah.
Quick, someone do it.
So your two main books right now, you did a bunch of little short stories as well, like
Yes.
strip style, like I think like what usually like 3 to 5 panel stories roughly.
Yeah, I still draw them as pages, but
Mhm.
sometimes I break them up.
Yeah.
Um,
And those are often fantasy oriented stories. There was a few there was like one that was a little sci-fi, but most of it is kind of fantasy oriented. So your next longer form stories, are you going to stay in fantasy? Or are you going to try different genres?
it's probably still going to be fantasy. Like it's
Yeah.
not fantasy isn't a conscious choice. It just sort of ends up being what I do. I've got so many projects on the go. My next longer story is still in its thumbnail stage, but it should 16-page stories that kind of relate together. You want to think about it. And it's supposed to be like the first chunk is supposed to be like during the Wild West times. So
Oh, okay.
I haven't actually written down it. And like by the end of it, like a wild animal ends up making a wish to be able to defend themselves, and they like mutate into a whole new race, so that for the second chunk we can focus on these kind of like fae monsters. And then the third chunk is going to be post-apocalyptic. I haven't quite gotten there yet. I'm still working on the second chunk. And then that's all to, like, that whole story is for me to bide my time because I have a much, much longer project. Sci-fi. It's supposed to be robots and aliens. And
Okay.
like humans get mentioned, but they haven't been alive for thousands of years. So a post-human society living in the remnants of what should have been a human colony. And yeah, that's still at its script stage, although I've been posting sketches here and there. I've got some thumbnails done just because I wanted to work on them, but
So you believe the AI is gonna take over and get rid of us all in the future?
Like AI as we know it currently, because AI as we know it currently is not intelligent. It's actually quite dumb. But so are people, so I guess it's analogous.
Well, you got guys like Elon Musk heading the program. What do you expect?
I don't expect much from Elon. He's good at throwing money at things so that other people can make cool stuff.
Yeah, that's more or less what it is. I think that's what it is with a lot of.
He just wants his name on things.
Yeah, and take credit for it.
Yeah. I used to be an Elon Musk fan, and then the stuff happened with the soccer team in the cave when he really started to show his colors.
Yeah.
And then Musk Watch stopped. I don't know if you guys knew about Musk Watch. And
No, I don't. Johnny knows more about all that kind of stuff. I don't really follow any of that, so
I mean, it's not a thing anymore. They just quietly stopped doing it. But for a few months, there was a couple of guys who, again, they were Elon Musk fans and they believed in him because he hadn't shown all of his colors yet. And so they did a heavy metal themed like weekly show just to catch everyone up on Musk news.
Okay.
And then eventually they just stopped it without explaining why, but it like we all know why.
Yeah. People with money, they can they're a strange breed.
They can get away with anything.
Maybe not anything, but they're definitely a strange breed.
Almost.
With your shorts, you kind of get a little personal, which I found kind of cool. You discuss your nightmares, kind of, and touch on, go a little bit of horror with this sliver one. Is this? You said this is truly a nightmare of yours that you have constantly, right?
Yeah. So a bunch of the shorts are done for Kraken Comics, which is a local comics anthology, like local to me, comics anthology, and so. Or anthology themes was childhood nightmares. And so I did 5 shorts. Had on screen was my actual childhood nightmare that I still think about, where like it's just a disembodied eyeball that would deform, and like I knew in my head that it was like an invisible hand that was pulling the sliver out, and that it would all deform with that. Still makes me feel squicky.
And do you think it you had like some sleep paralysis going on with that, or do you remember it that vividly? Like that was it?
I don't think I had sleep paralysis, but I did have like a lot of migraines and stuff growing up, which like I have really bad eyesight, so it's probably all related to that. But I couldn't tell you for certain. I also, at the time, for most of those nightmares, I was the bottom bunk in a bunk bed, and so like looking up at the bunk above you, just thinking about little pieces of wood falling.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, dude. Eye trauma is just it's something that I've seen it. I haven't had it happen to me. I used to do construction, so like, yeah, we'd have injuries all the time on the site. And my dad's the safety guy, so I'd be in at lunch and go see what he was up to, and like I'd go in and there'd be like a guy with a part of a grinder wheel stuck in his eyeball, and be like, "I'm out, dog." Like that's
yeah, like that shit messes you up forever. One of my brothers was a construction guy, and he had a beam fall on his foot, and then he
yeah ow. And then the shark one is slightly more funny for like
that wasn't an actual nightmare. Just
okay.
I knew that it was something. I think I looked up most common nightmares. So like I did my literal nightmare, I did my husband's literal nightmare, the fear there's a bird one, which it wasn't an act. The shark, because it's one of the most common nightmares people have, and I forget what the fifth one was.
I think. Do you think the shark one is because of Jaws?
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Just
that when I swam in my pool as a kid, I'd never close my eyes underwater because it'd make me feel like I'm in the ocean or something. So I'd always swim with my eyes open just to make sure it kept me like.
Yeah.
My imagination would start going. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel that.
Like, don't close your eyes underwater. Jaws will get you.
No, media has definitely made sharks into a bigger villain than they should be.
Is Shark Week still a thing?
I believe
they still
so.
do that?
Yeah, they still do that on the Learning Channel, right? Yeah.
Okay. Or Discovery or whichever one it was. Okay, they still do their Shark Week? Okay. I wasn't sure.
And they still make all them sharks horror sci-fi channel movies too, man. Like
that's true. There's those cheesy shark like Sharknado, Shark Squids, Sharktopus.
I haven't seen any of those movies, but yeah.
I know it's called Prison Massacre. Yeah, like they go on and on, man.
I think when Cocaine Bear came out, there was like they did Cocaine
Shark, yeah.
Cocaine Shark. Oh my god. People are the best kind of idiots sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need a stupid campy movie though.
Yeah,
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Also in your shorts, you got some really cute, sweet ones. Like what's the Hairtastrophe? Like that one really cracked me up. And then Swipe Right is probably my favorite. Like that one is so cute.
Swipe Right is my first comic, like my first published comic. It was a project that I had to do while I was in the program. And so it's actually a true story from one of my classmates. So he gave me a story and I had to illustrate it.
I was going to ask that because it really came off as like a true story. Like it just had that feel like it was friends of yours or something like that.
Yeah, one of my classmates, Cash. Cash is not his actual name, but that's what we all called him. And that's why there's a van at one point and I put Cash on the license plate.
Cool. Also, the one about racism I thought was really great. I mean, like, there are probably people that'll about it, but like, it's all factual. It's all really true, and I kind of like when people just put it out there, you know, like bluntly, like this is what happened, like, and it's factual. You know what I mean? You can look it up.
Yeah. No, I was again, that was a project from when I was in the program. I had a couple of classmates who were being kind of flippant about things, and I had a little freak out about them, and they were like, "You're taking this too seriously." And so I wrote a comic about it. And so it, like, the whole comic, it's me and my best friend Mindy sitting there talking about racism.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can say that because we're all just a bunch of, I'm assuming it was a bunch of white people sitting around that, like, you could say that, but like, if you were to step outside of your damn bubble, you'd understand that, like, some people that have to go through that, they have to live with you thinking that, oh, it's just funny.
Yeah, like, I'm very privileged to be a white person, so that, like, bad things happen to me. but not as bad as they could be. Like I don't have people telling me to go back to my own country when my own country is Canada.
That is so stupid though when people say
Yeah.
that. Because if you want to get down to it, I mean, everyone would have to be going back except for a very, very few people, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
indigenous people, yeah.
yeah.
I like
So
this is
when
just
people say that, it's like
a
we're
quick
all
example.
none of us, like, unless you actually have it in your bloodline, but so few of us here
Yeah.
are actually 100% our bloodline comes from here, and we
Yeah.
don't have any European roots or
Yeah.
you know, so it's like
And then
it's
like,
just ignorant people just making ignorant comments.
yeah. And just like people thinking that any person of color must be an immigrant. Like, no. Like I get that you can roll the die and maybe they're an immigrant. But just as likely they're just born here in Canada is an immigrant. Like you can't tell by looking at somebody.
Yeah.
All right, this is supposed to be a positive show.
Hey, you wrote the strip. We're
I
just talking
did.
about your strip that you
I was
wrote.
thinking about, like, before we started, I was thinking about how you guys pitch yourselves as a show about positivity, and that I'd need some sort of bell or something for us to ring every time it go dark.
We're also called How'd We Get Here? Like we
Yeah.
go on tangents, so yeah.
Yeah.
It happens, but yeah, I think for the most part, what we're saying is a positive thing. You know what I mean? Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Well,
like it's
people knowing is there's never you can't view that as a negative thing.
No.
People being more aware, more educated, more knowledgeable,
Open to conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think is getting harder and harder in today's society because people hold so strongly to their beliefs, whether it's one side or the other, and you have much more extremists from both sides that there are no more conversations. It's just fighting all the time.
Yeah.
It's horrible. So that's why I've just given up. I'm like, whatever. People are stupid, and I'm just
Let me talk about comics.
Yeah, exactly. When we ended last episode, what was it, Johnny? Comics are great, and I was like, yeah, comics are awesome.
Yeah, I said comics are the best, and yeah. But so your next book, the one about the cowboy homunculus type creature that you were talking about, are you going to kickstart that again, or are you going to
the Wish comics? It'll probably be a Kickstarter eventually, like sometime next year if I can keep my work ethic up. It's also going to be like I'm planning on starting my Patreon up for my birthday in March. So it's going to be what I use to start my Patreon up. Is the plan.
That's a good idea, and I wouldn't be mad if you moved your stuff over, all your comics over to that, because like we were saying before, Aaron, make some money, you know what I mean? But don't be greedy, but like make some money.
Yeah, and like they'd still be free to read eventually, but first to Patreon people.
And I like the practice of like having your book done before you kickstart it. So I like that you're gonna do it eventually. Like that's always a good practice in my opinion.
Yeah, like it's fine if there's some stuff that needs to be done, but 80% of the work done. Yeah. So that you don't have a mountain to climb.
Exactly, and you never know. You can have just bad luck, right? Something happens where you have to put it on hold. So that way, if your book is done, you do your Kickstarter. The only thing you have to worry about is sending the damn thing to the printers, right? You take away so many steps where things can go wrong.
Yeah.
That the last step is the printer step, right? Then after it's shipping, so it's like the before. Yeah. So you're putting the chances on your side. Like we've backed so many books that were not finished, where they're working on it as they did their Kickstarter, and delay because of this, delay like because of some some are perfectly
some never come out,
and then others just never come out, like it's burnout and they just give up on the project, right? And They just
like
can't do
burnout
it.
is so real. I get it, but also,
You should have had the book done before you did your Kickstarter.
yeah, like it's a social contract by that point. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to like blame creators, although like some people go into it like fully knowing they're never gonna finish.
Yeah.
I've never backed those projects, but like I've heard those stories where it's just a scam from the get-go.
I don't think I have a few. I don't think it was a scam from the get-go. I just think they had unrealistic expectations of what they were capable of.
Yeah.
And they just got way overwhelmed.
Yeah.
To the point where they just like couldn't do it, right?
Yeah. Which is disappointing, but on some level understanding. But I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Yeah. Like I have now, I'm in a social contract with these 35 people to get this work out and to produce something. And like a lot of them I know personally because it's like more than half of my backers are my personal friends and family.
Which is
that's some accountability there.
Which is actually normal, like you said, because this is this was your second book, right, Blake?
This is my second book, yeah.
And you've done a lot of smaller, like short story publications and like those zines, like you said, and stuff. So you know, it's building a readership, and you know, you do that one project, one book at a time, one short story, one strip at a time, and sharing on socials, like you're going to be doing your Patreon. So you're taking the steps necessary, and eventually, you know, if you put the work in, you should get the results. So, and I mean, you're definitely a good storyteller.
Oh, thank you.
Without a doubt. Like, I mean, you know, you definitely emote the proper emotions for what you're trying to communicate, right? Aww. It definitely like gets you in the feels and everything. So, I mean,
that's so nice to hear because I never know.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, it definitely, you're definitely hitting the cues that you want to. Like, I definitely feel it when, like, okay, this is what you're going for, and you are successful at it, you know, like, and building your characters up to have empathy for them, even though they're flawed, you still love them and care for those characters, even though they, you know, and, you know.
And you actually have characters, not just like one-dimensional cutouts or just project one ideal. Like like Faircrow, like he is flushed out. You know what I mean? You get the all sides of them in the story, and same with the you get less time with the girl, but like she's pretty well flushed out with the couple scenes you get of her. So,
exactly. Well, I think they're kind of similar characters from the two sides, right? Where like, why can't we all just get along? You know, like why do we have to? We're pretty much the same. So why do we have to fight? You know, and you touch on it in your. I'll bring it back to the negative thing of the racism. You explain it in there.
Yeah.
If we all just rip our outer layer off, underneath we're all just muscle, skin, bone, blood. We're all the same, pretty much to the core. So I mean, and we focus too much on our differences and not enough on our similarities as people.
I think that's why I like drawing monsters and like monster type characters, because I like talking about racism, but I like when it's just humans, I just want them to get along. Like we when we're all just humans, like, hopefully we'd all just get along. Shouldn't we be beyond that? Like, we're not, but I would like to think that we are. Whereas when you introduce a monster to the mix, it's also like you're not specifying a race. So it feels, I don't know, it feels cheating sometimes. Because I don't have to have.
But then your work won't feel dated either.
Yeah.
Because you're not like talking about a specific point in time where someone could be like, so it can span time where it can be relevant to whatever's happening because it's not specific to either a specific race of people or.
And it doesn't have to just touch on race because, like, I think everyone feels monstrous at times.
I mean,
or because other people have called them such.
or sometimes just out of anger, frustration. I've said things to people where I kind of regret it after, like when you're in a bad mood or you just snap and say something, you're like, oh, that instant regret that comes with it after. Like as soon as it left your lips, you're like, oh, I should have never said that.
Yeah.
Then you feel bad and you just you kick yourself in the ass all day after that. You're like, fuck. And I mean, maybe some people don't have that and they just go about their day like,
But what does that say about them?
Yeah,
are they the monsters?
I guess some people do. They just don't give a shit.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
it takes all kinds to make the world go round, I guess.
Personally, I'm gonna make comics.
Yeah.
And your comics are, like we pointed out, a great reflection of society. You got this panel that's a couple pages before the one that flashes up on screen with the cops dragging away the homeless people, and that literally makes Sauron have to blink, just like, damn, why did I look at that? That's sad. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm so glad you of the whole comic, and I wasn't sure if people would pick up on it or not. The blink.
Well, I mean, it is called blinks, so
Yeah, I know.
The eyeball, so
yeah.
I mean, you didn't make it. It's pretty obvious. At the end, you have a full panel of it full. So, I mean, if someone missed it, it's just because they weren't paying attention when they were reading.
Yeah. But it's good storytelling all the way around, man.
Yeah.
I like you kind of show the disparity at the beginning of the book too, with the angel just walking by the homeless person, like, no, God, we need to communicate. I need you to listen to me, but like, I don't give a fuck about this homeless person right here.
I know.
Which, I mean, just speaks volumes about how people are. Yeah, I love that first page. It just kind of like sinks it right in, kind of like what the journey we're gonna be in, but like you get like a lot of cool anecdotes in the middle, like the school kids and the devil sneaking out for a smoke, but like he's cooking dinner, like just really good interactions all the way through Blink. And the idea of it being, like I said, a narrative about the city, you know what I mean? I love stuff that does that subverts, your typical, it's about this guy and he's gonna go here. Like, that's cool and all, but like, show me something like this every now and then. This is interesting comics, in my opinion. So thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, that's why I call it, like, I didn't know what to call it other than a concept comic. And like, I know concept comics exist, but I couldn't think of anything else that it might be. Because, I still don't really know how to tell people about Blink. Like, eventually I landed on, it's a tour of the city. It's a stroll through, see the citizens, etc. But yeah, I like
and it doesn't pull its punches, and I'm happy about that. Like I said, I grew up as a punk, so like I love the band Bad Religion, and your books kind of remind me of their songs. You know what I mean? There's some great social messaging in pretty much everything that you put out, and I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, especially when it's thoughtful, but it's not to the point where it's preachy or
I mean, some of it is just pulled from my life. So, which I think a lot of good stories are just pulled from life, but
for sure. In your Blink story, the eyeball, it right away when you start reading it, you think like Lord of the Rings, the Eye of Sauron, So then you think it's going to have this negative influence on everything around it. But for some reason, I was reading it and it didn't give off the vibe of it being menacing. At first you think, yes, it's going to be this presence that's... But people are just like kind of almost not oblivious to it, but...
They're projecting themselves.
Yeah, like it's kind of become a part of the city where people just go about their lives and it's there. Yeah, and it doesn't seem like it's influencing them that much. No, it seems more like it's an observer, kind of like a third party watching what's going on without really interfering or,
Yeah,
So,
that's the vibes I was going for. Kind of like I've never seen them, but like the famous geysers where like you know they're going to happen but you don't know when. And so tourists go there and they hang out and they do everything else and then hopefully they get to see the geyser go off, right?
mhm,
Hopefully the people will see the blink, but it's not necessarily affecting their life.
mhm. And I like it because then you're like seeing the world through the point of view, not a point of view, but you're seeing what the eye sees, right? The eye's
Yeah.
like going around the city, looking here, looking there, just
Yeah.
because it's a tower with an eye. What's it going to do all day but watch people?
Right? I think there's a question somewhere, and I don't know the answer to it, about how much does the eye see?
Yeah,
Like, can it actually see into these buildings, or like, is it only in view when you are in view of it? Right?
kind of like one of those paintings that are always
Follows
watching
you
you.
around.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can it still watch you in the other room? Does it know when you're gonna step in?
you're getting romantic. You have to turn it around because you just feel like it's watching you.
Like the family dog. Yeah.
Yeah. People with pet smell. So you mentioned what was the con called that you said
Island Fan Con.
Island Fan Con. So you're going to be going to that this year.
Yep.
Okay. When is that?
End of March. Should be last weekend of March.
So not too far away, like
Not
2-3 months away. Yeah,
Yep.
2.5 months, 3 months away.
Yep.
Cool. So that's going to be. You looking forward to that? You're getting excited?
I am.
You should have your books by then, printed and everything.
I should have my books by then, and like I have a bunch of Kraken comics. I have Faircrow as well.
Mhm.
I'll have more zines by then.
Mhm.
I sell paintings and stuff. I have postcards.
Okay, yeah.
I have a fairly full table at this point,
Yeah.
but I am looking forward to actually having Blink physically in my hands. It's so close.
And I know some people are precious about the pages they produce, but are you like, do you sell the original pages? Or
I would be willing to. Like, it was actually a tier on the Kickstarter, but no one took me up on it.
Okay.
And that was one of my things going into it. I knew that I wanted to be able to sell the pages, so I wanted every page to be able to stand on its own.
Mhm.
So I tried really hard to make that happen.
There's definitely a few pages in there that Johnny showed a couple of them. Like one with the worm's eye view. That's a great shot. Yeah, that one. That's a fantastic shot. That'd make a beautiful piece. The landscape from the hill, where you see the cityscape.
I love that
one's
one.
Super beautiful. If
the one with the worm's eye view. There's a few that like they're almost better in person because like there's extra details that get cut off in the public eye, but the one with the worm's eye view specifically actually has a spelling mistake on it that I had to fix digitally.
Oh, you fixed it digitally?
Yeah. I didn't even know until I posted it, and then my stepson was like, "Hey, there's a mistake here." I was like,
there
shit.
you go.
Blessed are the children.
Yeah. I like editing things, but it's so hard to edit your own stuff, especially line edits, because you spend so much time staring at the page that it just kind of bleeds together by the end of it.
Yeah, Johnny and I just writing descriptions. We know all about that. It's like
how you spell cartoonist.
Yeah. Sometimes you just like Johnny, because Johnny's the one who sets up the YouTube, so he'll write the description and he sends it to me, and then I'll kind of do whatever with them, post them here and there on socials. And sometimes I'll read it and I'll catch a few things here and there, but sometimes even like if it's at the end of the night, I'm a little tired and I read it quick and then I post it, and then for some reason 20 seconds after I post it, I reread it and I'll catch two things I miss. I'm like, why didn't I see it the first time I read it? Like what the
I'm severely dyslexic, so I rely on autocorrect to help me, or So like I did for a show, we did talking about a book called Multiple Warheads, but like in the description, I actually wrote it multi-pool, and like at least that's how it ended up. So like in all the posts, nobody called us on it, but like multi-pool warhead.
I didn't even. No, did you make the? I don't remember reading that one. So
Yeah.
you must have done all the social media posts for that one.
Go back and look at the posts, man, and it says multi-pool, like he's got a couple different swimming pools.
Multi-pool, yeah.
So,
Anyway, so we know all about like
Yeah.
that's why people, when they get a good editor, like someone to go over, like it's a godsend, right? So
yeah, if and when I finally get my comic book put out, I'm getting a editor because, like I said, I'm dyslexic, so I couldn't imagine what my comic book would read like.
But I think the best thing to do is get like 3 or 4 people you trust.
Yeah.
And let them go through it. Read it. Like just read it. Let me know what you think. And people that you're good friends with, that they'll be like, oh, I noticed a couple mistakes. Like they'll tell you. Yeah. And it won't be a big thing. They'll just be like, oh, I noticed a couple mistakes. And you'll be, more than anything, you'll be grateful and super thankful for it.
As long as you let me know it while you can still fix it too. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear that.
Be like, I sent it to print. Oh, I meant to tell you. You should have fucking told me that.
But I send it to my mom when I need that advice.
Yeah.
She was my first editor, and she almost always catches everything.
Everything? Yeah.
Like I've made a few mistakes in comics that I've like she's caught, and then I'd have to go and fix it. But like I have this really pig-headed problem where I'll send my work to people, and they'll just all say that it's good. And it's like, thanks. But is it really good, or is it just because we're friends?
Yeah. Okay. Could you elaborate? Or like give me criticism, but constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Like I could take, that's one thing, I could take constructive criticism all day long.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not telling you you're bad. It's telling you that I saw this. This is something, and usually constructive criticism comes from a place of, I see where you're going. I think it's a good idea. Here's an idea that maybe will help guide you in the right direction, right? So, yeah.
Criticism is its own like skill set too.
It is.
Like I had people don't want the level of feedback that I want. When I first started criticizing people's works, like creative criticism, I just assumed that everybody wanted to go as deep into everything as I did. And so I would like rip apart people's stories in a loving way, what I thought was loving, and then make people cry and just feel bad about it later. And so eventually I had to learn to ask, what level of feedback do you want?
Yeah, because some people can't take even constructive criticism. They'll take it as a negative.
Yeah.
Where it's not, no, I'm not.
Like, I don't mean it as a negative, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I did that once online with a person that was posting their art, and I was like, oh, I really like it. I think it's great, but maybe you could try doing this and see what it looks like. Just it's trash and you start over. No, maybe try this. Like just, from one artist to another.
Yeah.
Oh, try that and see what it does. Like, doesn't mean you have to do it. It doesn't mean you have to keep, but just try it to see.
But maybe it'll be something you like.
And maybe it won't. I don't know. Like, you'll see. And then like it was a whole, you shouldn't tell people. I was like, are we really going to go through this right now? I was like, fuck it. So,
yeah.
People just want to be praised and they don't want to improve. They don't, I don't know. Anyway, I'm with you on that. Like, as long as you're being truthful and it's for the benefit of the person.
Yeah.
Like if it's just to be negative and put them down, then that's not helping anything or anyone. But I've never done that to someone. So
no, creative criticism should be a gift.
Well, I mean, like online, there is a problem with people like being thinking that being critical means hating everything. There is
Yeah.
a problem with that nowadays. But if you're actually going from a place of like, yeah, it's cool, but like maybe like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Like when we do thumbnails all the time, Joe would always be like, well, could you try to do this? I'm like, a lot of times I didn't know how. I would use GIMP. It's a photo manipulation program I use, and I just would play with it and mess around. I didn't actually know how to like attack things from a graphic design perspective, but Joe's actually like we done screen sharing sessions where he's literally showed me how to like actually do the things that like he mentions to me, and stuff like that helps. You know what I mean? And
yeah, it's how you get better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I never took it to the butt, like when Joe would tell me, like, "Hey, yeah, that's a cool thumbnail, but could you do the words going, vertical up the tree?" And I would be like, "Man, I don't know how to do that." He showed me how you change this perspective on your letters and stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, it's very easy. I can't believe I couldn't figure it out."
But you can't know something until you know it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I grew up with Photoshop, and GIMP is. I don't know what Photoshop's like anymore. Like I grew up with Photoshop in the 90s.
Photoshop.
GIMP is a lot like Photoshop from
GIMP
the 90s.
is like we got Photoshop at home, and from how I've heard people explain it to me.
I should be switching back to GIMP in the next month or so. I meant to have already done it by now, but I'm still with Photoshop.
Okay, so GIMP is a fairly popular. I've been out of the loop for this kind of stuff for so long that I was just using my phone. I had a free program on my phone, and I was just doing
even
things
phones are fairly powerful nowadays.
Yeah,
especially just for like little social media, internet stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then Johnny got me on to GIMP. Then I was like, all right. He's like, it's free. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I started using it. I was like, damn, this is just like Photoshop. I was like, that's crazy.
So similar. Yeah.
Very similar. Yeah. So anyway, we don't want to keep you too long because, you probably want to get back to, I don't know if you're planning on drawing tonight, working on your books or anything else.
I need to do some drawing tonight. Yeah.
Oh, look at the buddy. What's their name?
This is Mordred.
Big fella.
He's kind of big, yeah.
I got a silver tabby just like that. That's a big guy. I would name Mibu. Like total cutie.
Mibu is a really cute name for a cat. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on. This has been a lovely experience.
Was there anything else you wanted to plug before we sign off? You have that convention coming up in March.
The convention coming up. I have my newsletter, which you can find through my link tree. Mm-hmm. I'm on different social medias.
You're on pretty much all of them. I think you're on Twitter. You're on Blue Sky.
I'm not on Twitter. Actually, I guess I am still technically on Twitter. I'm not active on Twitter. But I think I still have
you, but
yeah, but it would have been like just old stuff.
Okay.
I tried to disengage my Twitter. It won't let me because I can't remember my passwords. I'm really stuck on there until it just dies, I guess. Or
fair. You'll sink with the ship.
You want to plug what your ads are again, though, really quick?
So on most social medias, I'm either Unscrupulous Artist or AD Greenlees. But Instagram, Tumblr, and Instagram and Tumblr, I'm Unscrupulous Artist.
And right now you're doing your DG December, so you're posting a digital picture every.
I'm trying to do every day.
Trying to do it every day, so yeah.
I haven't done yesterday's yet, so I need to catch
up. All right, so we won't keep you much longer.
On balance, it'll be the whole month.
Thanks for coming on. It was fantastic talking to you. Had a great time. Hopefully, you'll sell the book like crazy when you go to the con in March. Blink, and Johnny.
Yeah. We are not going to be doing a show on Thursday because we got to get some stuff ready. Because on Saturday we are doing a kind of memorial show for our friend Sam. We're doing them in memory of Schlepzig. We're going to have some guests on. We're going to talk about some of our favorite pieces from him and just say goodbye. You know what I mean? And I will hope some of you guys join us for that. That's going to be
Saturday
pretty emotional,
night.
probably. Yeah.
Mhm.
Saturday night, 8 o'clock or 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
My time, 8 Central. Yeah.
Yep. So I hope to join you guys join us then. And I hope you guys check out AD Greenlees website. Like I said, the link was in the chat, it's in the description, and there's just some really fun, really good stuff that will hit you right in the feels when you need it. So
And
definitely get on it.
And if you want to pick up a physical copy of Blink, like we said, she should be getting physical copies in the near future. So keep your eye out for that in the near future.
They should be getting copies, but
sorry.
It's okay.
Right, I'm old. The pronoun game is still a work in process for me.
Fine.
But all right. Hope to see you guys Saturday. Take it easy, everybody.